So Deno, if all of you remember, Deno was the first sort of fork from Node.js. I won't even say fork because they just took it from a very scratch approach that we don't want NPM, we don't want Node modules, we don't want all of these things which Node has created, and we'll just try to create our own trajectory. Deno was one of those runtimes which started off a few years back and then eventually realized that backwards compatibility is extremely important for the ecosystem to smoothly transition. And now they have released a new version, Deno 2. I want to review this version, and there was a tweet I saw, like somebody mentioned, where Deno 2 HTTP server was faster than Bun. So I want to try it out on my MacBook Pro also. I'll show you my stats also just to have, like, we'll just try one test. I don't want to run a full benchmark or something like that. But if that is true, then this is very interesting because one of the biggest selling points of Bun over Deno was the compatibility with Node.js, first of all, which, by the way, I think Deno 2 has now pretty much solved, just like Bun. And second was the performance benefits, right? So even with Deno, Bun was way ahead in performance. But if that is the thing, if Deno has caught up in performance, it's gonna be a good fight. So anyway, I haven't been, a huge fan of Deno, to be honest, in the past because of many issues. But I think over the last few years, Deno has fixed most of them. One of my biggest concerns was that, one of my biggest things was that when Deno said that, we'll just go ahead and drop NPM, number one, right? When Deno said, like, we are secure by default, it made no sense whatsoever to me, to be very honest, because if you have given a file system permission to your source code, it doesn't matter, right? Because the end module, the module which is installed in that source code, which is imported, can also use that permission. So it doesn't really is a secure thing. It feels like it's just for saying that. So anyway, coming back to the topic, let's discuss about Deno 2 first, what it is and how this is going on. So the web is humanity's largest software platform. Building for it means potentially reaching over 5 billion people. Interesting. But as the web development has accelerated in recent years, it has also become increasingly unmanageably complex. Yet, despite these companies, JavaScript, the language of the web, has remained the most popular language of the past decade. In effort to simplify web programming, we created Deno, a modern all-in-one zero-config toolchain for JavaScript and TypeScript. Native TS, built on web standards, batteries included, formatter, linter, type checker, test framework, compiled to executable, and more. Today, hundreds of thousands of developers love using Deno, with repository becoming one of the highest start rating Rust projects. See, so I have a couple of things here. We use TypeScript codebase extensively at Fermion and CodeDam, and we have all of these. We have built-in format, not built-in, but we have a formatter, we have a linter, we have a type checker, we have a test framework, and we don't have this. So we don't do like a compile to executable thing here. We do run like ES build and create a single output, but I won't say like it's an executable or something. So we do these four things, and in JavaScript world, it is a mess, right? It is not a question that this is like, oh, this is very convenient. It is a mess because you have to play around with configurations. Sometimes the files just don't work. We test if you're including it, it doesn't work like the way you would expect it in monorepo projects and so on. So this is the issue. However, if you look at languages like Rust, for example, which also comes with all of this tooling built in, the difference there is that the Rust language itself has defined that, right? So there are no competing tools around it in a way, right? The problem with these things is that now Bun has its own things, right? It has its own formatter, linter, type checker, whatever, test framework. Bun test is also the same thing. Deno has that. Now, because Node never really made it official, they would also, at some point, like Node test already exists, they would also like build these functionalities given the pressure from the ecosystem, right? So now we have like 3-4 options in our ecosystem to do a same thing. This is what is probably a bad thing about JavaScript and ecosystem in general, is that the foundations are weak. Now they have catching up, like everything is going good. Node.js is also becoming performant. They are catching up on new APIs. Recently, like Node.js was also able to strip types from TypeScript code and just execute it, which is like how Bun and all of these things also work. So it's catching up, but it's lagging behind others to do it, right? So ideally what it should have done is Node.js would have taken all these leads so that these players would not be even required. But of course, like the only reason they exist is because Node.js was very, very slow in terms of implementing new things. So today we are thrilled to announce Deno 2, which includes backwards compatibility with Node.js and NPM, allowing you to run existing Node applications seamlessly. This was one of my biggest fight points when Deno's first version was released, because they just said that, F you, we will not support NPM, we will not support Node modules, we'll bring our new native system. And I said it on day one that you will not be able to capture any sort of meaningful, audience in Node.js community, because whenever you are trying to build a new thing which is built on top of the other thing, or it is similar to the other thing, you have to provide a compatibility bridge. It cannot be just like, it can be, sure, but then you be ready to create a new community on its own, right? Which Deno, I'm pretty sure, failed to do, because I don't see like a lot of, projects using Deno or migrating away from Node.js to Deno. New projects, sure, but how many of you have migrated your existing big Node.js projects to Deno just for the sake of it? The earlier versions. Deno 2 makes it probably possible to have a drop and replace. So they have added native support for package.json and Node modules. Welcome back. Package management with new Deno install, Deno add, and Deno remove. A stabilized standard library, support for private NPM, workspaces and monorepo support, LTS support, and JSR, a modern registry for sharing JavaScript libraries across runtimes. Awesome. This is a nice thing about Deno, where they have these built-in commands: Deno format, Deno lend, Deno test, Deno task, doc, compile, serve, all of this, right? This is the one tweet which I saw, like HTTP server is faster than Bun in this case. And yeah, let's check it out. Deno also has one interesting thing which I saw in the release video, was the Deno Jupyter, which is interesting because I've never seen like a Node.js or a JavaScript Jupyter notebook. I might be wrong because I'm not much into data science, but this is like a very interesting thing, I think. Backwards compatible forward thinking. So Deno 2 is backwards compatible with Node and NPM. This allows you to not only run Deno in your current Node projects, but incrementally adopt pieces of Deno's all-in-one toolchain. Okay. Don't like the clutter of package.json and Node modules directory, but still need to use that NPM package. You can directly import NPM packages using NPM specifiers without package.json and Node modules folder. Deno will install your packages in the global cache. This allows you to write programs with NPM dependencies in a single file. No dependency manifest configuration files or Node modules needed. For larger projects, a dependency manifest makes it simple to manage your dependencies. Placing an NPM specifier into an import map in a deno.json file allows importing the bare name of the package. So my biggest question here is that how are the dependencies under this package locked, version locked? Because that is achieved with package.log.json or pnpm.log.yaml or whatever yarn.log files, these files. Where is the log file for Deno? I'm not used Deno a lot, but this global cache, is this like, so the single file, what they mentioned. So this looks very nice, this looks very cool, but where are the log files? Because otherwise, this is guaranteed to break at some point whenever like some transitive dependency is updated, even though your version is logged here. With the ability to import NPM packages, you can access over 2 million. That's okay, that's fine. Not only Deno 2 supports package.json and Node modules, it also comes with 3 important subcommands that allow you to install and easily manage. That's fine. Okay, so you see that using create react app lower is better. Deno says here also like it beats Bun, which is crazy because Bun install is crazy fast. So JavaScript registry is there. So Deno introduced a new JavaScript registry, which is like, if you have seen NPM or even few other things on NPM, you will see that it's sort of similar to how it would look. So you see that on JavaScript registry, it's pretty much looking like how it will look at NPM. It supports TypeScript natively. You can publish modules as TypeScript source code, handles the module loading, intricacies, multiple runtimes and environments, only allows ESM, auto-generates documentation from JS doc style commands, and all of that. Because you can upload TypeScript to JSR, it has an outstanding understanding of the code that is being published. This allowed us to deliver a seamless developer experience for both publishing and consuming modules. If you're interested in the details, you can read our blog post on how we architected JSR. So we can go into this blog post some other day, but again, like basic principles, you anyway have to solve like terabytes, petabytes of downloads a month. So you have to figure out how would you support that architecture, then the hosting side of things. Then they also support TypeScript natively. So all of that. The standard library is now stable. So this is also one of the things which Node.js and JavaScript ecosystem in general misses. And that is, ability to have a standard library. So you see that Deno has done a good work here in terms of like, if you look at NPM for testing, there is jest or vtest, then expect, okay, I don't know, like jest, vtest, I think vtest automatically provides expect also. Then collections is Lodash, format is chalk, net is get port. Okay, so anyway, like the point here is that Deno is maintaining a few standard packages, which is good, which is a good thing, right? So it, of course, it has like some unstable or some internal things, but I'm expecting like for the most part these packages would be good. Workspaces and monorepos. This is something which is interesting for us specifically because we use a lot of monorepos and workspaces. So Deno 2 also supports workspaces, which is a robust solution to manage monorepos. So I don't know like how well this would work because when we tried out Bun, it also supported monorepos, but it was like sort of a disaster to use. So I'm not sure what happens here now. Maybe we can give it some try at some other video or maybe like a stream or something. Then there is an LTS support. Starting with Deno 2.1, the LTS channel will receive critical bug fixes backported for 6 months. Okay, that's good to know. Finally, for teams needing advanced support, we have introduced the Deno for Enterprise program. We have partnered up with companies like Netflix, Slack, and Deco.cx to help their engineers move faster. Okay, so see, some of these companies, at the end, you have to realize that companies are built with people, right? And people like to do all sorts of things. So some of the people inside these companies would obviously convince their managers and people to try out a new thing. Like I would guarantee you that Netlify or Slack or these companies, if they were using Node.js earlier, they would have like some sort of tooling and things already pre-configured. But somebody in the company got excited that okay, there is a new thing here which eliminates a lot of our assets in terms of like the configuration we have built over the year. Then they started to use Deno, and they really liked it. But then at some point there would be some hurdles or like you need some support or something like that. So this is how features get adopted because people takes initiative, and I think that is what's happening with the enterprise program also. So it's good to know like they are creating a good enough support for all of these people. Deno is fast. We have put tremendous efforts in making Deno fast across the wide range of real world scenarios. Our focus is on delivering performance improvements that truly matter in everyday JavaScript and TypeScript development, whether it's startup time, handling complex requests, or overall efficiency. While benchmarks can never tell the full story, they can provide insights where a runtime excels. Here are some benchmarks that showcase Deno's strengths, demonstrating its ability to deliver top-notch performance. So this is very, very interesting. If this is true, I don't know if this is true or not, because somebody the first HTTP benchmark shown above was conducted using Deno 1.45, not Deno 2. In reality, Deno 2 is about 20% slower. The HTTP benchmark, if it's 20% slower, then also it is close to like 140, which is 112, which is okay, slightly slower than Bun, sure. The difference is due to our recent disabling of V8 pointer compression to address cases where users exceeded the 4 GB heap limit. We plan to re-enable it as it's the ideal default for most users and introduce a Deno 64 build for those needing larger heaps. Okay, so they have also released the correction for this benchmark, which is by the way what I was excited to try out, so it's not there anymore. Because this is something somebody on Twitter pointed this out that hey, I saw your recent benchmarks and I'm not able to reproduce this. I am trying Bun, I'm trying Deno. Deno is slower than Bun, so what's happening? So that is also something I wanted to try out, but I don't know, like this might be true because 112 requests per second is a crazy amount of requests, to be honest, on a single server. So yeah. Then the second stat you see, FFI SQLite. Okay, here I think the dip is really huge for Node.js, and like with Bun also, like it's significantly larger. FFI DuckDB queries per second is also significantly larger compared to Bun and Node both. Single executable binary size is significantly, I won't say significant because it's already like huge in general, 80 megabytes, 93 megabytes, and 107 megabytes. It's saying that its cold start time is also lower than Bun. Average VM cold start time is also significantly lower than Node.js and Bun both. Package install also is better than Bun. Okay. NPM module execution time is also much lower than Bun. And fs.exist sync is also slightly lower than Bun. So at the end of the day, every company has to sell itself. So Bun does similar things where sometimes it creates like weird benchmarks or things which you would not really use in real life, in production and so on, just to show that they are much faster. So first of all, I wouldn't take these benchmarks on face value. Like I said, somebody did try this out and it did not work, and then they probably added a correction. I don't know like the timeline events, but I definitely saw that one tweet. Second thing is that, of course, their release post is not listing, just like with Bun. I loved Bun and I still love the Bun project in general, but Bun, we tried to shift our lot of tooling from Node.js to Bun. We use Node.js heavily and we tried to use Bun because it simplified a lot of our work use case. And you wouldn't imagine the amount of time we wasted because of some weird segmentation faults, CI errors, all of that. And sure, like we can open request and that is how the project grows. But as a very small startup, we have extremely large number of battles we have to pick from, right? We cannot just go ahead and fight every battle. So we have to be very careful on what we are picking so that we don't waste a lot of our time, because we know for a fact our time would be wasted on our own product. It better be wasted on our own product than fixing the tooling, which we know is a better thing that exists already. So that's why we stick to Node.js still. We stick to that because we use a very wide spectrum of Node.js APIs, from DNS to crypto to, I think we use FFI also somewhere. Basically anything you can imagine which is like on a complex side of Node.js APIs, we use that, right? So we challenge these projects like Bun and Deno to their extremes. And Bun, the last time I tried out, it failed. It still isn't like 100% compatible with Node. Deno also says that it's a Node.js drop-in replacement, but I don't know how compatible they are. If there is a compatibility matrix I can check, so I'm not sure. It says that if Deno is fully backwards compatible with Node, why should I use Deno instead of Node? While Deno can't run Node programs, it's designed to push JavaScript and TypeScript forward. Deno offers features that Node.js lacks, such as native TypeScript support, web standards API, a complete toolchain for JavaScript development, and a secure by default execution model, all in a single executable with no external dependencies. See, I'll be honest, again, the feedback which I gave a few years back, I'll still give. There is nothing such as native TypeScript support. It has to be broken down into two things. The first thing is a software that strips out the types and executes your code. The second thing is a software that checks your types, right? This is a huge misconception in the whole this JavaScript TypeScript world. There exists as native TypeScript support. There is no such thing as, you can say that, oh, we support tsconfig and so on, but I'm talking about like true validation of the types and the code which you have written. There is no such thing as a native TypeScript support, which is also fast, right? Let me just clarify this once. Which is fast. There is no such thing like this, because you have to always break down this into two things. The first one is the type stripper, something like that, which could be ES build, which could be, roll down, whatever, these sort of things, which could be Bun's internal stripper or however they do it, which could be Node now also, because it's also doing that in version 22, I think, which could be Deno. This thing is easy because what they do is they just remove all the types and they just start running your code, TypeScript file. The hard thing is the thing where you verify the program. This is the hard thing, because the reason I say this is the hard thing is the only software that can do it right now with a full 100% compatibility is the TypeScript compiler. There is no other software. You would find, SWC, for example, as an example. You can find like a few other forks here and there. But TypeScript compiler is the only software until and unless you are, running it something like this, no emit, and this passes with a status code of 0. Until and unless that is happening, you cannot be sure that your TypeScript code is valid, right? So this native TypeScript support is great, but like I said, it is also supported in Node.js right now and in Bun, so it's not like a edge as such. Web standards API, see, I might be a little opinionated here, but I don't believe that backend runtime needs to be 100% compatible with front-end runtimes. I don't see like what sort of benefits it brings. Deno also had, at some point, it had support for window, so you could access window.api, something like that. I don't know what's the use case of that. You can bring the best parts of browser to the backend, but these are like two fundamentally different environments, and unless you appreciate that, you would not be able to create like performance benefits or contrast with that. So I'm not sure, like Node.js is also heading into that direction where it's trying to support like a few more web standards here and there, but not really. Deno very aggressively bets on that, so I'm not sure, like this is not one of my things which I would probably want as a developer. So maybe you have other opinions, so sure about that. A complete toolchain for JavaScript development. This is one of the good things. So of course I appreciate that a single software, a single thing provides all the necessary toolings. But chances are, like again, like I said a few years back, chances are that if you are trying to do some serious level of JavaScript work, you already have this thing figured out, right? ESLint, Prettier, dprint, for example. Dprint is a Rust-based formatter. I don't know like what the performance benefit is of Deno lint, how Deno lint works internally, but ESLint is very, very comprehensive. Granted that ESLint is very slow on big projects. It suffers the same performance things like TSC because it's also written in JavaScript, but it's very, very comprehensive. And a secure by default execution model, all in a single executable with no external dependencies. I, for one, don't agree with this thing at all, that this provides any value, any significant value at all. I mean, sure, it can provide value if you're just randomly trying to install packages in your project and, just trying to run arbitrary code. But any sizable project would require permissions like network access. It would require permission like file system access. And once you give like network and file system access, the game is over anyway, right? So any other dependency you added, because in Deno, I'm sure like you cannot control the submodule has access to a specific permission or not. If that was the model Deno introduced, it would be game changer. Then I would say yes. By default, only let's say the env package has the ability to read the file system, no other software. But it's not possible to do it in JavaScript world as far as I know. Maybe like it's possible with some other hacks and tricks. But if you have something like this, then this is not a secure, it's an illusion of security in my opinion. And the best way still is to containerize your app inside a Docker container or something, remove the root access from that container and just give it the files and things which it needs, network and all of that if it needs, right? So even if your app is compromised, for example, inside a Docker container and Docker has access to network, it still is not able to like, just arbitrarily post any sort of things or on the internet or something. So you still need that security model built into your system. You cannot just rely on I would say on the runtime to provide it. I think the sandboxing has to come from outside the world also. Why the new logo? What happened to the cute dinosaur mascot? Since the beginning, the cute sauropod in the rain has been Deno's face. It has quickly quirky charm and always been the hallmark of Deno. But the design was never consistent. There were at least 2 official versions. So anyway, like they updated the logo. Long story short, Deno began with an ambitious vision to modernize JavaScript. But with all the work spent on backward compatibility, what's left of Deno's original vision? Very good question. I would probably ask that. Rewriting the entire JavaScript ecosystem isn't practical. Thank you so much for admitting what I was really saying a few years back. As Deno has scaled beyond small programs, we have recognized that supporting Node and NPM compatibility is essential, especially for tools like gRPC and AWS SDK, which are impractical to rewrite from scratch. But Deno's goal is not to become a Node clone in Rust or a drop-in replacement. Okay. Our aim is to level up JavaScript, moving beyond 2010 era CommonJS and the narrowing gap between the server-side and the browser environments in a way that developers can adopt practically. We refuse to accept that JavaScript must remain a tangle of mismatched tooling and endless layers of transpilation unable to evolve. Okay. Deno's original vision remains central to everything we do. This includes native TypeScript support, built-in web standards like promises, top level await, WASM, fetch, ES modules, and a batteries included toolchain. See, I like this vision, but I would have liked it more if no other provider was doing that. Like a few years in, and the 2 main providers other than Deno are already doing that. The Node.js provider itself and Bun in general. So yeah, I mean, the point is great, but it becomes weaker with time, right? The later you ship these things, the weaker it becomes. Supporting NPM is just one step towards making more versatile. Our mission is to provide a modern, streamlined toolchain that enhances the JavaScript experience, not just to support legacy code. I have a fresh projects. Are there breaking changes if I upgrade to Deno 2? Yeah, no. So there are no changes. So fresh is like a web framework which Deno has created, which is also interesting. It follows like the best principles of like isolated islands and things like this. And yeah, I mean, in general, I think Deno is, as a whole platform, provides a nice experience, because if you look at Deno, it also works as like sort of how Cloudflare workers work, right? So it has like this isolate or things like where you can deploy your worker, deploy your JavaScript, globally and get all the benefits. But I think Deno is slightly expensive when you compare it to Cloudflare. Yeah, so I think it's slightly expensive, and the global regions is also like not huge. Cloudflare is massive in terms of. So yeah, this is a nice product if they can, if they can just create it a very solid tooling, a very solid ecosystem alongside a very solid deployment option. basically like how Vercel also worked, created a Next.js thing with a very solid platform, then they would have like a good amount of chance to break into the ecosystem, because Node.js does not do it, Bun is not doing it yet. So Deno has that chance that it can just, get ahead of race, create a platform to deploy their own things also, and make it very, very drop dead simple, right? So that would be like a game changer, I would think. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know in comments what do you think about Deno. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video really soon.